Hi, my name is Laura Ludovico, and today in my TED Talk, I'm going to be discussing whether it is either corporate responsibility or personal responsibility as for the health and well-being of Americans. Now, fast food restaurants have become a large epidemic here in the US over the past 2 decades, and it is evident that citizens of the US nation have incorporated it into their daily lives and how it has taken a huge toll on their physical and mental health. I personally believe that the responsibility lies within the corporate, as they have both the power and control of how they produce and promote their foods. These ideas are often explained in documentary films such as Super Size Me and Food Inc. Documentary film Super Size Me follows the 30-day experience of Morgan Spurlock of him consuming McDonald's for 30 days straight. Now in these 30 days, he is required to follow a certain amount of rules, and one of those rules is that he cannot decline the supersize option if he is asked. So in one of the scenes in Houston, Texas, he is offered to supersize his meal, and as part of the rules, he cannot say no, so he accepts the offer. And it just shows how the food industry is heavily involved in how they lure in their customers to appeal to their food. It also shows that corporates, they're also really involved in how they could accumulate more money from their consumers, because they think of ways to up the prices, or how they can get more money by adding more options, such as supersizing a meal. So they have the control of how they price their foods and how they get more money from their consumers and how they persuade them into buying their foods to create more money. In documentary film Super Size Me, Food Inc., it examines the corporate farming in the US and how it produces food in a very, very unhealthy way, even though stores and restaurants label it as healthy and organic. In the film, it is shown that large amounts of animals are kept in dark storage units for a long period of time, but then they're soon to be killed and slaughtered, then processed by these farms, then sold into stores. Before they're killed, they're fed very, very unhealthy foods, and they're fed these unhealthy foods in order to keep them processed and somewhat healthy, because if they aren't fed these unhealthy foods, they can't be processed in the way that they want it to. Even though these animals are fed and all of that, they still have a really good chance of being contaminated with diseases, because like I said, they're fed very unhealthy foods, and they're kept in really compact spaces with other animals who could also have diseases. So just because they're processed and cleaned by chemicals and fertilizers does not make it any healthier for the animal and for the consumer. The production and promotion of food simply is caused by food industries wanting to make more money. The companies have the money to ensure that these animals are healthy, that these foods are healthy for their consumers, but instead of using that money to create healthier food, they'd rather keep it for themselves in the company, and they would rather just contaminate their animals with these chemicals and fertilizers that make it so unhealthy and dangerous for consumers and the animals themselves. Food industries promote these healthy foods in order to persuade the customers into buying them. As much as it is the food industry's responsibility for the health and wellness of Americans, some parts also involve personal responsibility as well. Us as individuals, we also have the power and control of what we want to do with ourselves and how we want to take care of ourselves. We have the ability to control what we eat, how we exercise, and how we keep up being healthy. In the film Super Size Me, Spurlock is asked to supersize his meal, but even though he is required to not decline that offer, if he did not have to decline the offer, he still has the control, he still has the ability to say no. We all have the ability to decide what we want for ourselves. So you could either have self-discipline into wanting to eat unhealthy, or you could just give in. And that's also how citizens become obese, because they sometimes they don't know when to stop. So we can't always blame the corporate as to why Americans are obese and get diseases such as diabetes, because you can know when to stop, and it's not always, you can't always blame it on someone, because something is always going to be on your part. So these films have showed the dangers of what the dangers and risks of what fast foods and healthy labeled foods can do to your body. Super Size Me has shown more personal responsibility, as Morgan Spurlock decided to participate in this experience. But Food Inc. shows corporate responsibility, as it shows how companies and farms handle their food and process them. We should all be aware of what we're putting into our body. We shouldn't allow our minds to we shouldn't allow us to be tricked into doing something that we don't want to do, because in the end, we know what we're doing and we have the responsibility to take care of ourselves. And thank you.